Pepsi Black from Max Taste No Sugar. Pepsi Black time, 18 hours or 6 p.m.
The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news at 6 comes to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. With the news at this time, I'm Dennis Chabrol. Good evening. First, the highlights. Guyana's national budget will be presented next week. 11 persons have died within the past 2 days from COVID. Regionally, fresh from a 30-seat victory, Barbados' Prime Minister says that there will be sweeping changes in her cabinet. Antigua's opposition United Progressive Party is gearing up for early general elections, and internationally, top U.S. and Russian diplomats made no major breakthrough at talks in Ukraine on Friday, but agreed to keep talking to try to resolve a crisis that has stoked fears of a military conflict. The details of these and other stories in a moment.
KFC delivery is now available from the Amazonia location. For shore-based Little Diamond residents, call 632-0533, 632-0533, 6080162, 6080162, or 503-3591, 503-3591. That's KFC's delivery service from the Amazonia location. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. The national budget for 2022 will be presented to the National Assembly next week Wednesday. Government says the budget presentation will come after several months of consultations with government ministries, private sector and other agencies. But leader of the People's National Congress Reform PNCR Aubrey Norton is concerned that the political opposition has been sidelined from the budget consultations.
This budget is being prepared with a very select group being invited to present views and proposals, while the main opposition coalition grouping, which represents over 49% of the Guyanese people, has been systematically excluded from these consultations. In this fractured society of ours, participatory budgeting, in which citizens are involved in the process of deciding how public money is spent, should become an integral part of budget reform in Guyana.
According to the Irfan Ali-led administration, the budget is expected to include a number of critical developmental programs and projects. Already, President Ali has cautioned that this year will require some belt tightening in the face of the adverse impact of the coronavirus COVID-19. He says these impacts include imported inflation due to the rising cost of imports due to supply chain problems around the world. The chairman of the People's National Congress Reform, PNCR, Sherwin Holder, expects at least two major leadership issues to be resolved in his party's favor, as well as the wider coalition. Those issues surround whether the PNCR leader, Mr. Aubrey Norton, should emerge as opposition leader and representative of the opposition coalition's list of candidates. Mr. Holder explains what he means by expecting the decision to be in the best interest of the PNCR.
It means exactly what I said. The PNC is in discussion. The central executive are in discussion on the matter. And one would expect that whatever solution is or whatever we come up with would naturally be in the interest of the party. That is the general expectation.
Mr. Holder says the PNCR leader and the opposition leader have reached some agreement on certain principles. A Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change APNU-AFC parliamentarian and PNCR Central Executive Member Ganesh Mahipal says the opposition leader, Joseph Harman, continues to lead the opposition parliamentarians.
Mr. Harman continues to be a guidance to all of us. He is working with us. He is engaging different persons at different levels, but he is around and functioning effectively. I can assure you that.
Mr. Norton has already identified the need for the PNCR leader to be also the representative of the list of APNU AFC candidates, currently the legal responsibility of then party leader David Granger. 11 persons have died from the coronavirus within the past 2 days, bringing Guyana's death toll to 1,122. The health ministry says 4 of them were not vaccinated and the vaccination status of 6 others were not known. 1 person was partly vaccinated. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, says that of the 4,109 tests that have been conducted within the past 24 hours, 902 persons are positive. Overall, there are now 12,773 active cases, of which 130 are hospitalized. The figures also show that 12,314 persons have been ordered to isolate themselves at home to avoid spreading the virus more. Dr. Anthony says that most of those being hospitalized have other diseases.
The majority of the persons who have been hospitalized would recover. However, what we are finding is that the persons who are becoming hospitalized now, they would have a lot of comorbidities. Some of them not just have one underlying illness, but they have several underlying illnesses.
He also says that most of the patients are not vaccinated.
Secondly, most of the people who are now coming into hospitals have not been vaccinated. And of recent too, we have noticed a lot of elderly people who are coming into the hospital who are unvaccinated and with comorbidities. These are all risk factors, and because of that, we have found that a lot of these patients don't do too well, and they're at risk of dying if they get COVID.
Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony. A cargo ship carrying 3 shipping containers laden with $5 million worth of ammunition is not registered in Guyana and is not due to arrive here. That's according to the Maritime Administration, MARAD. MARAD also says that the MOV Elika is not listed in Guyana's local ships registry, and it is believed that registration documents were issued by the International Maritime Safety Agency of Guyana, IMSAG. MARAD made known its position after a number of vessels tracking systems showed that MV Eolika was due to arrive in Guyana from Dakar, Senegal on January 28 after passing through the Caribbean. According to MARAD, it severed all ties with IMSAG since August last year. MARAD says it has since notified all regional and international bodies and organizations of the effective termination of all arrangements with IMSAG. According to MARAD, since then several vessels have been detained in various ports for false registration documents. The maritime regulator assures that it will continue to actively monitor this incident and will spare no effort in protecting the image of the Guyana flag. Guyanese police say that they have launched a probe into the seizure of the ammunition aboard the purportedly Guyana-flagged vessel in Dakar, Senegal. Police say they are working with regional and international law enforcement agencies and have alerted the Interpol General Secretariat. Guyanese police say they want Interpol to assist with the questioning of one Sunil Kumar, the Chief Executive Officer of International Maritime Safety Agency of Guyana, that is involved in the registration of motor vessels. MARAD cut all ties with that entity last year. Turning to news now from the Caribbean, St. Kitts is constructing the largest solar power farm so far in the Caribbean. The general manager of the St. Kitts Electricity Company, Mr. Clement Jomo Williams, says the La Chlange solar-powered farm will be in the Bastia Valley area. WinFM quotes him as saying that when completed, the Lachlange solar-powered farm will supply up to 18 megawatts of power to the national grid controlled by the St. Kitts Electricity Company. Mr. Williams says a lot of equipment has already arrived and construction of the solar farm will begin shortly. The Lachlange solar-powered farm will be the largest solar farm in the Caribbean. He also says that the St. Kitts Electricity Company will be one of the greener companies in the Eastern Caribbean. The aim of the solar-powered farm is to generate almost one-third of the country's electricity needs. The Deputy Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sean Richards, who is also the Minister of Energy, indicates that a key component of the energy policy is to produce 100% of the country's electricity from renewable resources. And inequalities in the policy research specialist believes that Trinidad and Tobago has lost out on opportunities to harness skilled labor from migrants. More in this report from TTT News Online.
Speaking during a UE webinar on migration in Trinidad and Tobago, Maria Jose Flor Agreda notes many instances where Venezuelan migrants were not acknowledged for their expertise in certain areas, including the medical and energy fields. She believes Trinidad and Tobago has suffered a double whammy of brain drain, where skilled labor is lost when nationals emigrate, but also when lost opportunities for skilled migrants.
Immigrants' de-skilling experience is mainly due to discrimination, and this is how they feel that is the main factor that leads for that discrimination. And ultimately, this discrimination may lead to brain drain of migrants who have skills. So now we're not only losing our own skilled labor force.
Ms. Flor Agreda said, according to her data, many skilled migrants may seek an alternate place to live where their expertise are acknowledged.
Many of these immigrants are really not coping well with not being able to work, and they're looking to travel to a third country. Many of them are, in fact, waiting only to save up enough money to get on a flight and go to a third country where they feel like they will have the ability to work in their own area.
That report from TTT News Online. Barbados' just re-elected Prime Minister Mia Mottley says that there will be major changes in the cabinet. Details in this report from Barbados Today.
She announced that she will act as health minister over the next few days. She will, however, name a new cabinet on Monday that will feature some changes.
We are clear that we have to be transformational, and therefore I do expect to have to make some changes to the structure of how government works. I've already spoken on the campaign trail about the fact that we need the People's Assemblies to be more responsive to the people of the nation, especially in the delivery of services. And I believe that the office of the Prime Minister has become more and more, my press secretary is here and he will tell you that regrettably he has had to be a jack of all trades, because in a very real sense, the office of the Prime Minister is seen as that place where all complaints ultimately come for all aspects of things, public and private. So we are giving serious thought to how best to structure that and may make some innovations in there.
Meanwhile, Motley assured that her new government will represent the interests of all Barbadians and abide by the principles of transparency and accountability.
Buoyed by it, we're humbled by the confidence, but I must tell you, it places a tremendous burden, and I have given the commitment. I gave it on the 27th of May 2018, and I give it again now, that I have to be the government's chief opposition when necessary, because the one thing I know is that I must not in any way breach the oath of office that I just took, and that the people of this country must always know that the fairness which they value, the accountability which they need, and the transparency which is required will always be part and parcel of the functioning of this government.
Attorney General Dale Marshall signaled that the government is ready to get on with the business of running the country's affairs.
That report from Barbados Today. In Antigua, the United Progressive Party will launch its election campaign next Thursday at a drive-in event at Potter's Village. The opposition party is gearing up for general elections, which are constitutionally due in 2023, but are expected to be called early. Deputy political leader Jamal Pringle says the UPP will not be caught off guard and is ready, along with its candidates, for the pending polls. Mr. Pringle says the requisite permission has been sought and received to hold the launch rally. He adds that police officials have even indicated that the party's safety protocols will be used as a template for other such events. He says a number of topical issues will be addressed at the campaign launch, including the development of small, medium, and large businesses. We now go to the BBC World Service for the latest bulletin of international news.
Hello, this is the BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. Ukraine has welcomed the prospect of further talks between Russia and the United States following their high-level meeting in Geneva. In a tweet, the Ukrainian Foreign Minister said it was good to know the diplomatic track with Russia remained active. After 90 minutes of talks in Switzerland, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov both spoke of the possibility of further meetings. Russia's security demands include a ban on Ukraine joining NATO. Imogen Folks is in Geneva.
At its close, Sergei Lavrov's comments combined Russian irritation. NATO was working against Russia, he claimed, with diplomatic niceties. The talks with Antony Blinken had been constructive. Russia had no plans to invade, and this was not the end of the dialogue. Moscow wants written answers from Washington about its security concerns. Mr. Lavrov said he expects them next week.
Aid agencies say a Saudi-led airstrike on a detention centre in northern Yemen has killed at least 70 people and injured many more. The charity Save the Children says the number of dead is expected to rise. The medical organisation MSF has warned that a nearby hospital has been overwhelmed by the number of casualties. Saudi-led coalition forces have been fighting Houthi rebels in Yemen since 2015. Chile's left-wing President-elect Gabriel Boric has named his new cabinet, appointing the current head of the central bank, Mario Marcel, as his finance minister. The move has been welcomed by the markets, which had been worried about Mr Boric's economic election promises. Cecilia Barria from BBC Mundo has more details.
Hours before announcing his cabinet, which is dominated by more women than men, Gabriel Boric spoke with the BBC. Wearing tattoos and no tie, the 35-year-old politician said, "I don't expect the elites to agree with me, but I do expect them to stop being afraid of us." Without a majority in Congress and a difficult economic situation, he will try to reform the tax and pension systems to fulfill his electoral promise of reducing inequality.
The American technology firm Intel says it will spend $20 billion building 2 semiconductor chip factories in the US state of Ohio as a global shortage continues. The announcement has been hailed by President Biden as an historic investment. Intel's chief executive, Pat Gelsinger, outlined the benefits of such a large technology site.
This impact of a mega site like this is simply profound. A semiconductor factory is not like other factories. It's more like a small city supporting a vibrant community of services, suppliers, and ancillary businesses. You can think about this as a magnet for the entire tech industry.
You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC in London. Masked Jewish settlers armed with clubs and stones have attacked a group of left-wing Israeli activists in the occupied West Bank. 6 of the activists, who were helping Palestinian farmers plant trees, were injured during the assaults near the village of Burin. Israeli security officials say the incident follows a sharp rise in violence by settlers and Jewish extremists in the West Bank. Police in southern Mexico have dispersed a migrant caravan for the first time this year. The authorities in the state of Chiapas said the group was made up of about 300 people, hoping to walk for weeks to apply for asylum in the US. They've been taken to processing centres to be returned to their home countries. Shares in Netflix have tumbled by more than 20% in New York after the streaming service posted worse than expected results. Michelle Fleury reports from the city.
Netflix, home to shows like The Crown, enjoyed a huge surge in interest during the pandemic as people around the world were forced to stay home. The number of subscribers worldwide grew to 222 million last year. But despite big hits like the Korean show Squid Game, the video streaming service now predicts it will add 2.5 million customers between January and March of this year. That is the slowest opening quarter in years and far less than the 5.9 million analysts had forecast. The streaming giant is spending billions of dollars on content to keep viewers interested.
Police in Ireland are investigating the death of a man whose body was reportedly brought into a post office in a failed attempt to claim his pension. Local media say 2 men propped up the corpse as they entered the building before fleeing when a member of staff asked about the dead man's well-being. They're reported to have abandoned the body as they left. Police haven't confirmed details of the incident in County Carlow, but they say they're treating the death as unexplained. BBC News.
And that's the news to the moment.
After a hard day's work, a lime at the workplace will be great, and even greater and better with KFC, with a wide choice of finger-licking meals in a wide range of sizes. Could be a birthday celebration or promotion, or a lime for no reason at all. Any lime, anytime, anywhere is better and tastier with a delicious meal from any of KFC's 9 locations, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, open now from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
Now to end the news, a recap of the highlights. Guyana's national budget will be presented next week. 11 persons have died within the past 2 days from COVID. Regionally, fresh from a 30-seat victory, Barbados' Prime Minister says that there will be sweeping changes in her cabinet. Antigua's opposition United Progressive Party is gearing up for early general elections. And internationally, top U.S. and Russian diplomats made no major breakthrough at talks in Ukraine on Friday, but agreed to keep talking to try to resolve a crisis that has stoked fears of a military conflict. That's the end of the news, which came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio Newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.